Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric and Chad here with Iraq Veteran 8888. Today we've got another Gun Gripe episode for you. All right, this one's a bit of a doozy. This is not something that you probably are expecting from us, but I'd like to make a video where we discuss what makes an anti-gunner tick, okay? You always see in our videos where we discuss why we're pro-gun, you know, what our ideas are about in terms of gun ownership and everything like that. But we want to hear from the antis. If you're anti-gun, we would love to hear your perspective. What makes you anti-gun? What makes you tick? And we're going to dive into that a bit and sort of discuss this. And maybe you guys can see things from our perspective, and maybe we can try to understand where you're coming from, okay? We're going to dive into that a little bit. But first, dude, I have got to tell you about this great mobile game called Raid Shadow Legends. I am absolutely addicted to this freaking game, Chad. I want to show you guys how this thing works. It is a great mobile RPG. It is also available on PC for you PC nerds out there like I am. And guys, I'm an old school gamer. I love old school RPGs. And this is a wonderful RPG with a ton of great functionality, really fun things going on with it. You've got some great weapons and armor upgrades that you can do. Lots of unique characters with really cool and interesting attributes and special attacks, power-ups and everything like that. There's an intricate system for leveling up and getting the ranks of your characters leveled up. Look, guys, if you want to check this game out, it's a free download. Go over there and download it. My name on there obviously is IV8888. So I am on there. Maybe, you know, some of us guys will get together and form us a clan and go bash everybody's skull in, okay, on this game. I am an RPG fan all the way back to the 80s. I've always loved RPGs. So, look, if you check the link in the description box below, okay, you're going to get a special link that you can click. All right, if you're a new player, you're going to get 100,000 silver coins. You're going to get some gems, a free energy refill, as well as a free champion known as the Executioner. I don't know about you, that sounds pretty daunting, okay? So you get some free stuff by clicking our link. It is a free download, which is great, okay? Now, when you go into your game, up in the upper right-hand corner, there's going to be a little treasure chest icon, okay? You just click that, and that takes you to all your free stuff that you get by clicking the link. Really cool stuff. So maybe we'll see you guys on there. All right, let's break into this a little bit. So the anti-gunner mentality. I mean, we hear about this all the time, okay? And the difficulty in having this discussion always seems to be that, okay, the people that are extremely pro-gun, all right, they assume that just because someone's anti-gun that you're going to write them off completely as somebody who's not welcome into the fold, or that can't have their mind change, or that they're damaged goods or something like that. The anti-gun mentality tends to be that, oh, well, all these pro-gun people are crazy and they're on the extreme side of one side of this token that we don't want to be associated with. So we want to try to get into the mind of the anti-gunner, okay? I think that someone who is not really for gun ownership, it can be traced into a couple of different things, I believe. And some of that might be that they were exposed to something, really tragic as a young person, or maybe they had a negative experience that involved a firearm or something, or maybe they didn't grow up in an environment where the adults in the household had firearms, like such as, I don't know, maybe you grew up on a farm and your dad had a hunting shotgun or whatever, or maybe you just grew up in a gun-friendly household. That can play into that, right? I really have a hard time believing that someone can have such a stringent approach to gun ownership as negatively as many of these people do. I mean, when we say that they're fervently anti-gun, they're anti-gun to the point where they hate guns so much that not only do they not want to own one, they want to keep you from owning one, and they think that nobody, society at large in general, should have a firearm. I mean, how do you draw those parallels? What do you think?
Well, I think the biggest reason that anti-gunners are anti-gun, I mean, like Eric said, okay, one thing could be a tragedy as a child, tragedy as an adult. I mean, somebody close to them had an accident with a firearm or was maybe killed by someone with a firearm, whatever the case is, and that kind of struck a chord in them, and they're just, afraid of firearms. They don't want to be around them because they think they're dangerous, okay? And it's just, a firearm is a tool, and people will say all the time, like, the argument is, okay, we don't need these weapons of war. All right. Well, firearms for the longest time have been used as weapons of war. Yes, that's true. But they also have been used as tools, just like any other tool has been used to put food on the table, kill game, that kind of thing, and feed a family, whatever the case might be, dating back, to the introduction of firearms themselves. They were used for many purposes, both good and bad. It's kind of the way the world works that we live in, unfortunately. But if you just have that narrow mindset, okay, to look at guns that way, and then demonize anyone who's a gun owner who would like to protect the Second Amendment and protect the rights, and you too. It's like I said, it's narrow-minded, and it's sort of ironic too that these people think the way they do, because not only, like Eric said, okay, they don't want to own guns themselves, they don't want you owning a gun, but they don't mind the police or the military or the government owning firearms, which is pretty much against what the Second Amendment really stands for in the first place. The Second Amendment wasn't put in place to have an unarmed populace. It was meant to have an armed populace. But the pro-gun side, okay, we're just a bunch of extremists in a lot of anti-gunners' eyes. I mean, so that's the anti-gun side of things. I mean,
right.
If you own a gun, and you want to keep that gun, you won't give it up for the public, good. Then you are an extremist, a right-wing extremist.
Now, the last thing that I want to do in this video, because look, there are many other videos. I mean, we have over 200 gun gripes where we discuss all the let me count the ways that we're pro-gun and everything. Okay, so we get that, right? Like, we know we're pro-gun. The last thing I want to do in this particular video, I don't want to patronize people who are anti-gun.
No, not at all.
I want someone who's maybe searching or whatever to go, well, wait a minute, Gun Channel's talking about, are you an anti-gunner or whatever? So, look, we want people who might challenge our narrative or challenge our perspective or challenge, whatever we have to say. We want them to be able to go in here and comment and give us a logical reason. Okay, give me a logical reason that you have to be anti-gun, not based on emotion, not based on any kind of rhetoric, and not to say your emotions are rhetoric. Okay, look, it is completely okay for someone to have strong feelings for a certain idea or a certain ideology or whatever, and then those feelings strongly, channel your decision-making process. It's okay. I mean, we're only human, right? Our emotions do drive our decisions, but I think if you look at things very logically and just look at it and be honest with yourself in that logic, you'll find that a lot of it is just being uninformed. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that a lot of folks that are anti-gun are probably indifferent, but they get lumped into anti-gunners. And what I mean by that indifference, now I'm not going to say this person's name because they probably don't want their name mentioned, but a good friend of mine I do business with a lot. He's not anti-gun. He's not pro-gun. He's indifferent. He doesn't care either way. He's the kind of guy who was left grandpa's revolver. He was left grandpa's shotgun. He's got grandpa's hunting rifle. He doesn't own an AR. He's never bought a gun. Okay. He has his grandfather's guns, but he would not go to a gun store and go, hey, I think I'll go buy a gun. Or he wouldn't go to a range and go, oh, I think I'll go shoot. He knows how to use them well enough to load them and unload them and basic use, but he's not a gun guy. He doesn't hunt. That's another big aspect. And remember, guys, we're trying to get into the mind of the anti-gunner. What is the anti-gunner thinking? How can we bring those people over to our fold and make them understand that we're all just regular people, we all like different things? Even within the subset of pro-gun people, okay, you wind up with situations where there are pro-gun people that aren't pro-gun enough, and then there are pro-gun people who, some people go, oh, they're too pro-gun, which there's no such thing as too pro-gun. But what I mean by that is, okay, there are gun owners, right? We're talking, all right, let's get back to the pro-gun side. There are pro-gun people that don't like hunting. Okay, they love to shoot, but they would never kill an animal or something, right?
Well, there's also pro-gun people that don't think you should own an AR-15.
Precisely. Okay, so when you get into the FUD mentality, there are people who think, oh, well, guns should only be used for hunting, and those of you who have an AR-15 or what have you or whatever, you shouldn't have that. So even within the pro-gun stuff, there are fences within the pro-gun world that some people don't want to go over a certain fence. So just like that on the anti-gun side, there are people within what many, especially the mainstream media, considers anti-gunners that would, I believe, some of them would come graze in that far left pasture a little bit more on the pro-gun side if they just got a little bit of training and a little bit of know-how and knowledge. I think the biggest thing is knowledge. And a lot of people that are anti-gun, I believe, I'm not trying to insult you, okay? If you're anti-gun and you're gritting your teeth right now going, what's this jerk going to say about me? Look, it's okay to not know. It's okay to not have knowledge about something. If you don't know about something, you don't have to be an expert about something to do a little bit of research, watch some of our videos, learn a little bit about what you hate so much, and you might actually find that you have more in common with the two people that you're looking at right now than you think you do. Okay, so this anti-gun mentality, in my humble opinion, if you'll allow me to say so, I believe comes from ignorance. Sometimes it's willful ignorance where someone just doesn't want to learn more, doesn't want to know more about, what firearms really mean to this country and what people use them for in everyday life. And I think that failure to seek that knowledge, or just the ignorance, they don't care to seek that knowledge. They get into this mindset and they go, oh, well, I wouldn't trust myself with a gun. So by admission and by default, you should not have a gun because I don't trust me with a gun. And since I don't trust me with a gun, you shouldn't have one either. It's this mindset, this sort of, gets into the psychology of it, but it's a mindset that we're all guilty of going through, right? All right, you're not a race car driver. And you think, well, no one needs a 200 mile an hour sports car. Who needs that? It's easy to say that if you don't own a 200 mile an hour sports car, if you don't know how to drive a 200 mile an hour sports car, or if you've never been exposed to it and you don't understand that it's awfully fun.
It's awfully fun.
Right. So see, those parallels can be drawn about all kinds of different things about life and society. The parallel of gun ownership goes to every single thing that we may not have knowledge about, we may not know about. But the difference is, if I don't know how to, I know how to fish, okay? But let's use
That's
that.
a bad example.
If I didn't know how to fish, would I say, oh, all you fishermen catching those fish, y'all shouldn't catch those fish?
Leave them fish alone.
Well, okay, I can just choose not to fish, but I don't have to tell you not to fish. Now, all right, I'm the anti-gunner talking now. All right, now my argument would be, okay, well, fish don't jump out of the water and kill people. But neither do guns. Firearms are a tool, right? The way you draw that parallel, tons, if you look at the actual data, all right, you know where I'm going with this, discuss this. So when you talk about the actual data of what physically harms and kills Americans, so talk about that.
All right, so the media, okay, we're kind of going back to the ignorance aspect of this whole conversation.
It's important, though, to discuss.
The mainstream media.
I'm going to play some rave while you're talking.
Go ahead. Boy. So the mainstream media feeds a lot of misinformation out there about firearms, and they really demonize gun owners, like we said, and they also really focus on the AR-15. Even though a firearm used in a particular crime may not have been an AR, they always show AR-15s because they're kind of the poster child for the anti-gunners in their campaign to win over the populace to a point where they can ban guns, confiscate guns, get these guns off the streets. Okay, and these are commonly used firearms for many, many different purposes. And there are millions of AR-15s in private hands all across the country, and probably untold hundreds of thousands more of just the parts to build these guns, okay, in private hands, let alone millions of parts on the shelves of stores and gun shops everywhere for folks to build these guns in the future who get interested in firearms.
Even beyond that.
So, the common use, okay?
Right, common use.
The ignorance of it is to think that just because Joe doesn't have a gun, that he can't hurt you. Okay? People have been hurting each other for many, many, many years.
Well,
okay? And
yeah.
Okay, so evil exists, okay? You have the tools to fight that evil in the world. Well, a firearm is one of the better tools for that, okay? For that offensive position, okay? You don't want to hurt anybody, but you want to protect yourself and your family. So I'd rather have a firearm at my disposal than a big stick or a rock, okay? So I want the tools at my disposal to be able to protect myself and my family. And that's a common sentiment for many gun owners, many people who are pro-freedom, okay? Conservatives, liberals alike, okay? If you're pro-freedom, you want to protect what's yours. And, it's ignorant to think that banning guns will do anything for crime, okay? We've seen this in the past. Gun bans really don't do anything to decrease crime in certain areas. If you increase the amount of concealed carry, reduce the necessary requirements for acquiring a carry license, or if a state passes constitutional carry laws, which as the entire country technically should be a constitutional carry country, okay? You should be able to carry a firearm with you in public all the time, all right? When those facets increase, crime decreases, because nobody wants to go up against a bunch of armed people if they're trying to rob someplace or do somebody harm. If they know that there are guns there, the likelihood of that crime happening are slim to none. But when you create these gun-free zones, which is a big anti-gun sentiment, all right, we need gun-free zones because people are safer in gun-free zones because there's no guns around. Wrong. All right? You look at mass shootings. Mass shootings happen in what? Gun-free zones. Okay? Because it's just targets. I mean, it's just open season, and the difficult thing is when you try to have a conversation with a person who's fervently anti-gun, they just will not listen to reason or logic whatsoever. It's very difficult. But that's kind of the sentiment, and it's hard for me to fathom that. It's like, okay, well, you don't have a gun, you're being robbed, you're being hurt, okay, somebody else has a gun, who do you call? You call the cops. They have guns, right? I mean, so why not have that firearm in the first place and take care of you and your own? That's kind of my argument. It's like
the question really, the basic simple question really becomes this, and nothing but this. Okay, you're anti-gun right now, you're watching this video, you're gritting your teeth, you're hating us, or maybe now your interest is piqued, you're going, all right, well, what are these guys talking about? I mean, how can this apply to me? Just ask yourself a really, really, really basic question. It's super, super easy. Do you trust the government to determine everything about your life now, tomorrow, and until the end of time? Is the answer yes or no? If the answer is no, welcome to the pro-gun world, because you're pro-gun and you just don't know it yet. Yep. The gun argument is over. An armed populace protects itself against a tyrannical government. So I know that's a hard thing to think about. It's what our founding fathers' intention, really was, back in the day. And really getting back to that early statement that I was turning over to Chad to talk about. No, it's cool. Yeah, I got sidetracked. It's cool, but you think about what harms us the most, right? Okay, heart disease, smoking, falls, slips and falls, car wrecks, all of these different things that harm Americans. You look at the CDC and all the reports that they release
malpractice,
about malpractice, surgical malpractice, all these things, right? Firearms are super, super low on that totem pole. So it's like, if you are looking for the low-hanging fruit in terms of making society a better place through action, okay, whether it's legislation or whether it's, what you really stand for as a person, well, then why are you choosing guns? That's not the low-hanging fruit. Look, that's not the thing that you're going to point to and go, yeah, look at all those people that died from whatever reason, okay? You can't legislate morality, and you can't legislate the human heart. Okay, people are going to do what they're going to do. Criminals are going to be criminals. Good people are going to be good people. Nothing will change that. A piece of paper sitting on a desk that says, you shall not do this, is irrelevant when you introduce morality and you introduce, human choice and the individual, the human mind, and the mental capacities that people have into this. They're going to do what they want to do.
All right, you think about firearms being the low-hanging fruit, okay? But they're the easiest target because they really tug at people's emotions, okay? Because people see guns, they see scary things like, okay, guns kill people, and that's the whole narrative, okay? That's what you're being spoon-fed by the mainstream media. When you look at top causes of death in the country, right, you look at things like heart disease, all right? So it's funny, like I watch a bunch of these documentaries, like these food documentaries and stuff, and they're quite interesting, okay? Because, I grew up eating like Hamburger Helper and just boxed cereals and stuff like that. But as I got older, I got more interested in like organic food, growing my own stuff, canning, and making sure that my family was eating very healthy items, And we live in a country where processed foods are like the norm, all right? You look at the U.S. and then you look at other countries, like take Japan, for example. When you go into like a Japanese grocery store, they have very healthy options, lots of fish, lots of white rice, really not very many.
And they also eat
grains and
smaller
stuff.
portions.
They eat very small portions, and the food is more healthy, it's more fresh. Even like their fast food type stuff, you're talking like a bowl of really healthy ramen with veggies and fish and things like that in it. Okay.
Sure.
Very, very lightly processed foods.
I'm getting a poke bowl for lunch now. I'm doing it.
But you look at like that kind of mortality rate for heart disease in this country. It's very, very high. And could we do something to change that? Yeah, technically. But we live in America, so you can pretty much do and put in your body what you want. Okay, that's part of being free. All right, but you have these huge corporations that are advertising this kind of stuff. All right, and you just get sucked into it. McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's.
And they're making money hand over fist, and they don't care about your health.
I mean,
look,
anyways,
here's another distinctive parallel that you can draw to this whole thing, okay? And I do not, in this video, want to polarize anti-gunners. I want this video to be a place where if you're anti-gun, you can come and see our perspective. We're trying to meet in the middle, okay? We're trying to understand. We want to understand where you're coming from. We want to hear what's on your mind. Tell us what you're thinking. That's what this is about. But if we compare this left to right, leave the politics out of it. Think about all these people that are complaining about plastic straws. Oh, we need, and all this stuff. And all the plastic in the ocean and all of the environmentalists and everything are making, a big deal about all of this stuff. Yeah, get that. Get that I was looking. All right.
It's like upgrading.
Get the game out of there. But, all these environmentalists looking at this and that. Oh, all the plastic in the ocean. That's not even something America did. It's all of the Asian countries that are throwing all the plastic in the ocean because they don't have the infrastructure in place to deal with it properly. So they just go, whatever, and they just toss it in the ocean and it's no big deal. They're destroying the environment. All that stuff floats over here, and all of a sudden we need to pay more taxes and have all these programs and do all this crap because of plastic they're throwing in the ocean, and that's somehow our fault. And then you look at somewhere like California, and there's used heroin needles and human feces and all kind of crap laying around in the street. And all of a sudden, those people who are in those jurisdictions somehow should be the moral compass for the rest of us and how we look at the world. Oh, and by the way, those are the same people that say you shouldn't have guns. What are we talking?
These are the same people that you want to run your life to.
I hope, it's my hope, and I mean this super, super humble, from the heart, I really do. I hope that if you're anti-gun and you watch this video, maybe we changed your mind, or maybe you understand our perspective a little bit better, okay? And I know that a lot of people tend to be guilty of sitting on this really tall soapbox and thinking, all right, banging my chest, oh, I'm me, and these are my people, and talking within an echo chamber. But speaking within an echo chamber is only going to get me to so many people that I can change. I don't have to change the people that already like who I am and what I do, and who understand where we come from as gunner and pro-gunners, and they're, gun people too. I need to talk to people who aren't pro-gun too, because I need to understand their perspective, and I need to try to change your mind with logic and facts and with, good solid reporting, right? We care about the facts, we care about what we see, we care about data, and those are how we have to develop laws, okay? If we are going to be a nation of laws, and now I'm a person who, I'm not like completely straight up anarchist, but I'm the kind of person that thinks that we should have considerably less laws than we do. Okay, so don't think I'm a statist and that I think we should have all these laws. Look, I'm a pro-gun guy, right? But I'm also extremely libertarian in terms of how I look at freedom, right? So if we are, and this is hypothetically, if we're going to be a nation of laws, those laws need to be drafted and adopted by the will of the people and for really good logical reasons that are backed up with concrete facts and evidence. We shouldn't just throw emotion and rhetoric towards a problem as a Band-Aid and say, well, we have all these laws, right? There are more gun laws on the books, and guns are more heavily regulated than any other thing that are out there. But yet they always want more and more and more, and more of the state level stuff.
Yep.
I think that if you open your mind a little bit and be a free thinker and look at the facts, you will find that the truth will always set you free. And if you really, really think about the facts and the truths that surround gun ownership, you'll find that even if you went into this video as an anti-gunner, you may quite find yourself closer to the middle of the fence than you might think a little bit, okay? Think about, and again, I hate to draw political sides, okay?
Unfortunately, it's a hard truth.
It's a hard truth, and I don't want to say left or right or Democrat or Republican or Libertarian. I hate political parties, and I hate the idea of political parties because it paints a given candidate with a preconceived picture that's not based on the merits of their character, but based on the merits of the little letter next to their name. And I disagree with that, right? Okay.
And the ideals of a party.
And the ideals of a party, right? Okay. Now, but be as it may, all right, Republicans are Republicans and Democrats are Democrats. But let's look at the left for a second, right? What does the left want to do? The left typically wants really, really lax voter ID laws because they want all different kind of people to vote, and they know which types of demographics vote for them, and they know that those demographics are people that are not going to go through the effort to produce documentation to vote, okay? We just know that. It's a fact. I'm not an evil person for saying that. It's a fact. Facts are not evil, okay? Your reaction to it may be emotional, but that's a fact, okay? The other fact that we look at is that Democrats also want much, much more distribution of wealth.
Government control.
They want more government control, and they try to spin that narrative on the other side, okay? Not to say the other side is right or not, okay? We're not even going to say who's right or wrong, but their side tends to point the other side and say, oh, we want more government, more social programs, more this, more that, more government aid, and all of these things, right? But what does that side also do? They also go, oh, we need more strict gun laws. Only the police should have guns. Well, let me ask you this, okay, an anti-gunner who's watching. Maybe at this point you're not, but maybe you were. If you're watching, all right, if the government's ideas are so good and you love them so much, and that all of those laws that these people or these statists are putting in, and let's just use the left as an example, if they're so good, why does the government need to have guns and the civilians don't? If the ideas are so good, why do they have to be enforced at gunpoint? Mm-hmm. Ask yourself that question. And that really should tell you everything you need to know. That's the argument is null and void right there. Even beyond constitutionality. Oh, we don't even get into your constitutional rights. It's your constitutional right.
Yep.
Even beyond that. If a law is good, people should just want to follow it because it makes sense for the betterment of society. But when a series of laws are so draconian and make so little sense that they have to be enforced not only out of the barrel of a gun, but at the stake of taking all of your guns in the process, that tells you that it's not a good idea.
Nope. So most of the anti-gunners that we've ever heard from, on the channel, either via like email or on social media of some kind or whatever the case is, the stories are pretty interesting because, like, hey, I was a fervent anti-gunner. I hated guns. I didn't want anybody to own guns, except the police and everything. But they sometimes have something happen or they have kind of a scare in their life, like, all right, they were maybe burglarized or whatever. It's like, hey, I think I want to maybe buy a handgun and learn to protect myself. And we've had stories where folks actually did defend themselves and their families with firearms that they recently got into and interested in and took some training with. And they were able to, be independent, free thinkers and protect what's theirs instead of having to rely on, the government, an entity that is always a day and a dollar too short, whatever, a day late and a dollar short, as they say. I mean, you have to be independent. You have to be willing to take a stand for yourself and your own safety. Otherwise, all you are is just a sheep in a giant herd. And that's kind of the big gist here is, okay, well, you don't like guns, but like I said, you call somebody with a firearm to protect you, okay? There's not a whole lot of logic in that idea. I mean, there just really isn't. I just can't really see it. Maybe I'm not thinking about it in the way that an anti-gunner would, but it's just crazy. And then when you have these anti-gunners in politics, bring down all this hammer of gun control, okay, when they have power, like we see in Virginia and some of the other states around the country right now. And we've seen on the federal level when, Democrats have control of Congress and the presidency. It's always about taking guns away and making people safer. You don't get more safety that way. It's been proven time and time again in metrics and statistics throughout the years. More guns equal a safer community all the time. Now, are there accidents related to firearms? Yes, there are. But
are firearms used in a negligent and sometimes dangerous manner
Yes.
for the worse off of society by criminals? Yes,
Sure.
they are.
Are there accidents with other household tools and things like that? Are there accidents on construction sites with everything that we use on a daily basis? Yes. Firearms are just a tool in a larger trade.
Disarming the populace for public safety would be the same thing as disarming the police for public safety. Mm-hmm. Think about it.
And
it'd be the same thing. It's the same thing. All right, a policeman, before he puts his uniform on, what is he?
He's a civilian.
If a policeman's in plain clothes, is he still a policeman? Yeah. Can he still carry a gun? Yeah. If I'm carrying a gun and I don't have a police uniform on, can I still hurt someone who's trying to hurt you?
Yep.
Yeah. Am I going to stop and give you a political test before I protect you? Am I going to go, oh, you're anti-gun? Well, yeah, let this criminal just have his way with you. Do you really think in your heart that we would do that?
Yep.
No.
You think
Absolutely not.
You think about things that went on in recent times here. Okay, there was an attempted mass shooting at a church in Texas. Well, the church team, they had put together like a little security team. Okay, and there were a couple of people that were killed. Okay, but the perpetrator was also killed by a parishioner there who was on that security team. So they were actively protecting their flock. Okay, so you have this spreading like wildfire all over the news and social media and everywhere else. Okay, and some of it got a little bit out of hand, but the story is there. The moral of the story is good. It's like good guy with a gun stops bad guy with a gun. Okay, and there was tragically some loss of life. However, if you restrict people from having firearms, that church would have just been a gun-free zone just like everything else, and there's no telling what kind of damage would have been done by a deranged individual who decided he was going to go out and illegally acquire a firearm.
I would even venture to say that as an anti-gunner, you're almost a liability to society by not being armed, because then you're more of a liability for someone who does have to protect the people around them. If you're not with the program like the rest of the people are, and something tragic happens, you just become a theoretical person who could be a statistic. Do you really want to be a statistic?
So
you have the right to arm yourself. Why wouldn't you arm yourself?
I hate to say it like this, but if you are an anti-gunner and you think that there shouldn't have been guns in that church, then you would technically, your mindset, okay, and all the anti-gun mindset combined would be responsible for the tragedy that would occur in a place like that. Gun-free zones do not work, no matter what anybody tells you. And that's just a fervent anti-gun ideology is, gun-free zones, we put up a sign, we put up a little letter, okay, we signed this piece of paper and made this law, you can't do this.
It's just feel-good legislation.
It is, but, it gets a little ridiculous sometimes when you see these things going on, and the truth is there. The truth is right in front of you, but yet you still try to spin the narrative to your advantage, even though it doesn't really fit. I mean, there's nothing about someone protecting other people and killing a bad guy that fits that anti-gun narrative. It's like, well, they shouldn't have been armed in the first place. Oh, well, he was a former cop. He wasn't just a civilian. I mean, all the time, you just can't see the facts for what they really are.
All we're asking for, guys, is just, all we want is for people to meet us in the middle and try to understand where we're coming from. There's no way that we as a society are going to be able to fully embrace what the Second Amendment is moving forward as a people if we can't get together under the common ground of protecting each other, protecting our families, our communities, and being responsible. And part of that responsibility is getting some training, get a little training, get a gun, learn how to use it, be proficient with it. Even if you're going to hate guns, you owe it to yourself to at least take a training class, understand how to use it, understand what you're dealing with. How do you know how to hate something if you don't even know about something? That's my biggest thing, is people just choose to stay in the dark, and they choose to just kind of go, oh, well, this is just something I shouldn't, worry about. It is part of your duty as an American citizen to understand firearms, at least to a basic degree. Firearms are an integral part of our society. They're interwoven in our society. They're here to stay. They're not going anywhere. We are a gun-owning society. If you're born here, guess what? You're part of a gun-owning society. Nothing is going to change that. No amount of fear or rhetoric is going to change that fact. The best thing to do is get with the program and understand that we want to protect everyone around us. It's not a political test. It's not where we're going to go, oh, well, that person looks like he doesn't like guns. I'm not going to protect him.
Yep.
That's not how it works. We always want to protect everyone around us. Once you remove those political motives from the situation and those emotional motives, and you just get right to the facts and the logic, you'll see that there's a lot that we share in common. I think it's safe to say that protecting our families and our communities and ourselves and our household is a common value that everyone can share, right? Everyone wants to protect their flock, right? That's just how we're wired. We as providers, we as humans want to protect each other, want to keep the wolves at bay in the night, right? And I think it's important that if we can get on board with that idea as a society together and remove the politics and remove the left and right and remove the pro and anti whatever, this and that, or whatever, however you feel about this policy or that policy, once you remove that fluff and that paunch and circumstance, you'll find that you just have people that care about their communities and their families. And that's what we have to get back to. A unified America who's unified under the idea of liberty and constitutional values and the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. I know that's corny. I know people say it all the time, but I think it's important. So, guys,
real quick,
one more time.
Real quick. So, look, this was something that came to mind earlier, but it slipped out. But anti-gunners, all right? So, you might be a person, we didn't even think about this, but you might be a person that grew up in an anti-gun household, okay? You were taught guns were bad, right? You grow up and you just don't really think much about it. And then it takes some, like I said earlier, it takes some spark, or it takes a buddy of yours who's a gun owner to maybe get you out. Like, accept the offer. Go out and shoot and get a little bit of idea of, like, hey, what guns are all about and what the gun culture is. Because like Eric said, the gun culture in this country isn't going anywhere. No matter what any politician says, no matter what any anti-gun organization says, it's just all scare tactics, propaganda. It's not going anywhere. Yep. The gun culture is in your blood. If you are an American, you have gun culture in your blood. I mean, it is in our souls.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
100%.
absolutely.
Anyways. It's really great that you mentioned that, and I can end this video by making a very important statement about this. And this is solidarity. Gun owners are not who you think they are. That is one of the things that the left, as a political entity or an ideology or whatever, is guilty of, is that they assume that all people that own guns are Bible-thumping rednecks, loving on their cousins and whatever else, and playing banjos in the woods. That's not true. Gun owners represent a huge demographic of people that you're really wrong to assume that there aren't, gay and lesbian gun owners or transgender gun owners or gun owners who are feminists or head of household, or, insert whatever identity politics into the equation you wish. There is someone on some fence somewhere sitting on their soapbox to their people that is a pro-gun person, regardless of any affiliation, different religions, different types of races, everyone, all different walks of life. There's tons of gun owners.
It's because gun ownership and self-preservation is a universal feeling. It's not limited to one political affiliation. It really isn't. Self-preservation is everybody's right. And whether you choose to use a firearm to protect that or protect yourself and all, or not, that's your choice. But
that's right.
You have that option, and it is not limited to political party affiliation, sex, creed, anything.
100%. Guys,
100% right.
Look, if you're an anti-gunner, and really this video was for you, if you're an anti-gunner, if you're watching this and you hate guns, we hope that maybe you understand where we're coming from and know that we're not trying to, make this a polarizing thing. Like, we want a positive narrative to result from this. We want people to make comments and tell us where you're coming from. And look, if you're on our side of the camp, if you're a subscriber to our channel and you love what we're doing, We appreciate you trying to see where we're coming from on this. In the comment section, guys, come on. Try to understand. Give a little bit of leeway for people to get their thoughts out. We want to hear what people have to say. We care about what people have to say, because the only way we're going to change hearts and minds is to understand their perspective, challenge the perspective, and change their minds with facts and logic. That's what we're trying to do here, okay? Don't start casting the bad stone. Like, be logical and be kind and respectful to each other. That is how we're going to win this thing. And I implore every single one of my viewers that watches our channel and that's going to comment below to try to give people be nice, civil. Okay? Be civil to each other, okay?
Yep.
Because that's where it starts. If we start throwing stones at either side, it's just going to turn into a bloodbath. That's not what we want. I want people to just open up a conversation and a dialogue. Okay, please do that for me, okay? So thank you very much for watching. Definitely want to take a moment to thank all our Patreon supporters, those of you who purchased man cans, t-shirts on the website, thank you. Also, if you go and download Raid Shadow Legends, go download it and click the link in the description box below. Remember to get all your free stuff, because free stuff is great. The game is free and the pack of swag
Silver
is free as well.
I need to download mine.
Oh yeah, get your stuff. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Many more videos on the way. We'll see you next time.
See you guys.